Psyche, in me, the psyche in me.
So that's my fault. Okay, can y'all hear us now? That was my fault. I didn't plug the audio in. Yep. Okay, can y'all hear us now? I'm sorry. Okay, we're gonna start this whole thing over. See if we can remember. Okay, can y'all give us a thumbs up now if you can hear? I didn't have it plugged in.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I'm so sorry. Somewhere off you now. I lost my little TikTok. I'm sorry, y'all. But um, hey Morg. Okay, so we was talking about limitation or protection, right? And I had the question was okay. I had the question, dang, everybody calling texting me now. I'm glad y'all in tune and let me know. I'm sorry. But it was what if the very thing that's protecting us is now limiting or harming us? And so again, welcome to the PsycHE In Me community. If it's your first time, welcome for joining. Thank you for joining us. If it's not, welcome back, family. So again, the question was, what if the very thing that once protected you, is now limiting you, right? And I was saying how that question had hit me pretty hard because when we start talking about this episode, sometimes we do things without really realizing that we actually do them, right? We just assume like this is who I am, this is what I'm supposed to do, right? And I had started out with that, and then I think you were talking about people pleasing.
Yeah, like being guarded, right? Sometimes we can be guarded. Sometimes we may find ourselves being a people pleaser. I used to be that. Still guilty just a little bit, but thank God recovered a little bit. But a people pleaser. It could be what I say. Never asking for help. Some people never
Mm-hmm.
ask for help, even though they know they need it. They don't ask, and that can be from a therapy perspective and or just physically needing some help. And
Yeah.
then, and then I said avoiding conflict.
Yeah.
Like some
Yeah.
people will avoid conflict at all costs because
Mm-hmm.
they do not want to have anything. And even if it's hurting you, you still will avoid confronting something
Yeah.
that needs to be confronted. So that's what I
Mm-hmm.
was saying. May have missed some of the things, but those are the main things that popped in
Yeah.
my mind that I
And then
said.
when you said that, I was like, and I may forget some. So the ones that still had to go back with TikTok now to see if they could hear the volume. But I think I was saying like the interesting thing about that is that behaviors didn't appear randomly. Like
Right.
they came as protection, and they were kind of like solutions to the problem to make you feel safe. And I think you were agreeing with that, but you had went into other examples.
Yeah, because I was like, and y'all, we try to remember, but it's all good. But I was saying, I definitely agree with Brittany because things don't come overnight. People develop the habits they have or the defense mechanisms and things like that. They develop those for a reason. So I
Mm-hmm.
think people do it because it helps them survive difficult situations.
Yeah.
Our guard is up with
Mm-hmm.
difficult situations just so we can survive it, right?
Yep.
But I think what happens though when we do those and use them strategies, what happens to us sometimes is we can start creating problems in our present lives. Something
Yeah.
that was in the past can now start hurting us in our present lives.
Uh-huh. And then that's when I was saying talking about defense
Yeah.
mechanisms. So I was like, we're gonna talk about defense mechanisms, uh coping strategies, emotional armor, and how to kind of recognize when something that once protected us may now really be holding us back or harming us. And when you think about it, you be like, dang, how can something that protects me is harming me, right? It kind of be like, what does that look like? And I know I like saying that. But and I realized too that every defense has a story, and I think that's what we stopped on.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing that I have truly learned, and I was saying like in my professional career and just in life general, people don't just develop mechanisms for no reason.
Right.
And every defense has a story behind it. And I was like, if you ever hear me talking to you or finding out something, I'll be wanting to know everything from the meat. I want the meats and the potatoes, okay? Because everybody has a story. So I'm like, what led them to do this?
Yeah.
What made them think about this? How was their social life, the social and developmental history? What was the environment like? Like I like to know the neighborhoods, like the
Right.
graphic details. Like I want to know, the geographical details. I'm that person. Like I want to know the very story, what developed the story. And I was giving examples like if someone trusts somebody, they may have been a time where they felt like they could be open and vulnerable, but their trust was broken.
Yeah.
And so now they have the defense mechanism where I don't care who you are, I'm not trusting not a soul, I'm good on my own. And then I think I was talking about vulnerability. Some people may have a time where they opened up and really thought they was at a safe place or had a person that they could really trust. And then it ended up leading to hurt because here it is that I told this person, but now the whole world know my business. And I was like, that can be hurtful. It can lead to rejection and embarrassment. Um, and then someone wanted to have control all the time, right? If you constantly try to have control over everything that's around you, and it may come from like a situation where where life completely was like unpredictable, or you trust somebody with a task and they wasn't able to fulfill it, and you thought they had you, but they didn't. And sometimes you be like, you know what, life is so unpredictable. People are unpredictable. I'll just do it myself. At least I know it's gonna get done, right? I might be burned out, but at least I know I can do it myself and it's gonna get done. And so I think I stopped on that in regards to like some of the examples.
Yeah. And before I go any further, for those that didn't have an opportunity to join us last week, this is part two
Yeah.
of self sabotaging yourself. So this is part two to that. So if you didn't have a chance to watch
Mhm.
or tune in last week, I truly encourage you to watch that, because then you would understand how we're going now into this phase of it. But it was talking about self sabotaging ourselves. I called it the triple S. It was tripping me up last week to say it.
Oh yeah.
But that's where we are getting this part from, what we're talking about tonight. And I think what's important, is understanding that these behaviors aren't flaws,
Yeah.
right? They aren't flaws, they are adaptation.
We would
We,
come on through
we
with
tend to
adaptation.
adapt to our situations, our environments, to what you were just saying,
Yeah.
which is such an important distinction, right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes we can mistake flaws that we have for things that have become a part of us from adaptation. So I think it's very important that we distinguish those two things, because we can often judge ourselves
Yep.
for the patterns, right? Instead of recognizing that they once served a purpose.
Mhm.
Things in our life, they once served a purpose, right? So we got to be careful of judging ourselves with patterns.
Yep, that's good. And then also the problem is that it isn't that the defense really exists. Excuse me. The problem is like when we're still using a survival strategy for a danger that's no longer there. And I think that's when protection tends to turn into limitation.
Yeah.
So you can't use the same strategy that you use for something, that you were in danger at one point in time of your life, but now it's not there, and now you're still trying to use that survival strategy. It's not going to work because now you're limiting yourself. And so I'll go first with an example because it's Transparent Tuesday. So y'all know I like to keep it real. Um, my personal example would be for years, like one of my biggest defense mechanisms, and it's only one of them, so I'll share one. Because there's some more out there, but it was reliance, right? Like I mentioned before, like I convinced myself that needing people was a weakness, right? Like if something needed to be done, I'll do it myself, right? If I'm struggling, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out myself. Like Lori, just give me the things and the tools that I need. I'll figure it out. I don't need nobody. Or if I was hurting, I'll keep it and deal with it privately instead of communicating about it. Or if it's something, someone, a place, environment, anything, instead of just going to that directly and saying, "Hey, this hurt. You did this. This was said. This was done." I just deal with it privately, and I think that ended up hurting
Right.
me more so.
So what do you think, created that? What do you think created
I think in times in my life where support wasn't always available, and not for say support in my life from like family, because yeah, I know one of my ride or dies right here beside me, my partner right here. But it was more so like in life, especially when I was going through my phase at college and stuff, right? Sometimes you got the support, but you don't even want the support because you know what's going to be said or done. And so independence was my way of becoming safe, right? Like staying safe. And then sometimes I don't want to put much on my support, right? Like sometimes in my case, it wasn't, I guess I should rephrase, it wasn't really not having support. It's that I didn't want to disappoint my support or burn out my support because I'm like, they already got stuff going on enough. I'm getting older. I'm grown. I need to learn how to do stuff myself, right? And honestly, it worked. So I'm gonna not say that it didn't have its pros and cons. It did work, right? It made me strong. It made me resilient. But eventually I realized I wasn't just independent. I was isolated, like isolated from the world, like isolated from getting friends, right? Beginning to trust people, developing relationships. And so that's my personal example
That's
on why I think that
powerful.
hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's powerful. I thank you for sharing that because
No
that is
probs,
powerful.
no
Because
probs.
I think what started as a strength, right,
Mm-hmm.
eventually became distance, right.
Exactly. Yep.
So sometimes we can start things off, family,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be seen as a strength. Like she said, I'm independent. I'm doing this on my own. I'm going to do it and get everything done myself. I'm not going to ask nobody, right? But
Mm-hmm.
while she felt like it was gaining strength, eventually it became distance for her, right? She realized, like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, it was helping me at that time. But now, where I'm at now,
Yeah.
I realize I need that help. I realize I need that support, right?
Mm-hmm.
I realize that it's one thing to be independent, um, and it's one thing to be isolated. So I
Yeah.
think when you're talking about that, I think like it started off as a strength, but it can become very isolating and very lonely
Yeah,
if
because
you're
I
not careful.
mean, it stopped me from like allowing people to show up for me, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, it wasn't that they couldn't. It just stopped allowing them to show up for me. If you don't tell nobody, how would they know, right? And it wasn't protecting myself anymore. It was more like preventing connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you can be afraid of what that connection looks like, and that can be school from teachers, professors, for the kiddos and teens and young
Yeah.
adults. Well, older people are going to school too, but for
Yeah.
all those out there for school, it can be something like that, or just for working environments, anything. Like it will kind of prevent you from connection. So that's what I was doing. I was kind of preventing myself from connections that I need.
Yeah. And I
Mm-hmm.
can relate to that, right? So for me, I would say my defense mechanism was always trying to keep everybody happy, right?
Yeah, I can agree
Yeah.
with you on
I
that
always
one.
even doing things that I know I really didn't want to do just to keep people happy.
Mm-hmm.
I became really good at reading rooms. I still am. I can read a room really well. Um, but I became really good at reading rooms, um, sensing tension, and making sure everyone else was comfortable, right? I became good at those things. I could read a room, I could feel if there's some tension. And if I felt that tension, I tried to ease the tension, right? By making sure everybody in here is comfortable. And I'm still like that. I'm still concerned about whether or
Mm-hmm.
not people are okay, right? Because I
Yeah.
want everyone comfortable because everybody walks differently. Everybody's on a different level. So
Yeah.
I can't expect people to be at my level with certain things. And
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we can do that. And so when we do things like that, it can hurt us. Like I said, it was my strength, but it can become
Some
distance.
disarm you. Yeah,
It
protection
really
and
can. It
delimitation.
really
Yeah.
can.
So do you think it's kind of like, in a sense, not for everybody walk and talk in different walks and stuff, but what about like always trying to make sure people are happy? Then you kind of forget. So do you think it kind of like ties into like people pleasing?
Oh, big time. Big, 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 big time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because that was me. I was a very big on people pleasing. Wanted to make sure everybody liked me. Wanted to make sure and I think just because it's Transparent Tuesday, when I reflect back on childhood, um, and things that were said, done, just different things that I look at in growing up with different people, um, there are things that can be said, things how you can be treated that makes
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure nobody is done like you were done, right?
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah.
that's where trying to please people, trying to make sure I fit with this crowd, and I fit with this group, and I fit with that group. I
Mm-hmm.
became like a people pleaser, and it followed me. Like
Mm.
that is so true. It truly followed me. So
Wow.
growing up, um, it helped me to avoid conflict, and I can relate to that a lot. There's a lot of times I could have been in a lot of conflict. I ain't telling y'all I wasn't in some, but some of it I didn't have to, right? Because it just didn't need to be. So I wasn't being kind. I wasn't abandoning myself, And um, it's like it wasn't so much about being kind, but I was abandoning myself, right? And that's a hard realization.
Yeah.
Because I was becoming what everybody wanted me to be, and what I, hear that, I felt that they needed. That they needed to be comfortable, that they needed to be, that they needed so they could feel good, right? Again, what I felt was strength becomes my Achilles heel, so to speak, right? So that's a hard realization because the behavior looks positive on the surface, right? And then it's like, um, people, they praised it, right? They really did. Like, it's like you praise that, and then it's like, but if I could just be real, it really was fear. Underneath that surface was fear. If I can just be very transparent, the fear of losing a friend, or fear of not fitting in, or fear of them not being happy with me and liking me, right? Fear of disappointing people. I was really big on that. I did not want to disappoint nobody. I wanted everybody to feel like I did something to help. Fear of rejection. I don't know no one who likes rejection. Nobody stands up there and say, "I'll take another one," right? I'll take another rejection. I don't think nobody likes rejection. So a lot of that, I think, came from fear of rejection. Like I said, fear of not being liked by everybody.
Yeah.
So those things really became what used to protect me, right? What we're talking about is the very thing that could be holding me back, the very thing that could be causing me problems.
And that's like the tricky part with defense mechanisms, y'all, right? Like sometimes they look like strengths, right? Sometimes they actually are, like we said, like sometimes they really are actually strengths until they become extreme.
Right.
And so I want to talk about signs that your protection has became or becoming a limitation. So let's talk about the signs that might be happening. First sign would be you keep on ending up in the same situation, right? It can be different circumstances, different people, but you keep getting the same result. And I guess if you want to kind of give examples on what that look like, just if not, then I can.
You can, but I'll tell you the definition of insanity.
Okay.
Doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result.
True.
That is something that I relate to when you said that. Like, yeah, that would be.
Yeah, and then maybe every relationship feels distant, right? When they keeping the same thing. Maybe every opportunity feels scary. Maybe every conflict, right, feels overwhelming.
Right.
And at some point, we really have to ask ourselves, y'all, like whether the pattern is connected to the strategy we're using. Like, is this always happening every time because it's still connected to what I'm used to using? And again, we talked about that strategy where sometimes we can use the strategy for the same strategy when we're no longer in danger. And so that's what I mean. That's what I mean by that. And then also you have the second sign, right? Which would be safety. Safety starts looking a lot like avoidance, right?
Like that's a good one, right? I think like healthy protection, right, says I need boundaries. That's healthy protection, y'all. There's nothing wrong with that. You need boundaries. I don't care who it is. You need boundaries set in your life, right? When you're one way, they can come in. But when you go different ways, you have to have boundaries set, right? Because avoidance says this: I'm never letting anyone close enough to hurt me. Has anybody said that before? I'm not letting nobody ever get that close to me again. I was hurt, and they will never get that close to me.
That's a good example.
And so you can find yourself meeting people sometimes, and you thinking things are going great, and you're starting to break down barriers, so you think. But then all of a sudden, bam, that person come one day and they're a totally different person. You're looking like, what's wrong? What happened? But in their mind, you're getting too close. So I can't let you hurt me. So I'm getting ready to shut it down real fast.
Right. So in a way with what you said, cause that was good with the like healthy and unhealthy. And then one of them, when I thought about it, it's like one kind of protects your peace. The other one prevents connection.
That's
which is
good.
what I talked about from the last time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then I think, like, for me, like, if I was to give a third sign, it would be like growth feels threatening. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
growth feels threatening sometimes
Yeah.
to people, right? When they
Yep.
see you growing, instead, I'm telling y'all,
Mhm.
everybody that's hollering, go girl, go guy, get him, man, get him. You got it. I got you, bro. I got you, sis. It's telling a flat out lie. I'm just telling you straight up. Everybody is not in your corner, and you have to remember that because your growth sometimes threatens them. Because when people see you growing and doing things and they're not, they're threatened. They're threatened you're going to leave them behind. Come on, somebody, because I know I'm telling the truth. They threaten you're going to leave them behind. They threaten that, oh man, they're going to get there before I do. Right? So they start sabotaging stuff and start doing things. I'm telling you, it happens. So growth sometimes feels threatening. People will start. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's your third sign is when growth starts feeling like it's threatening.
Mhm. And I think because growth often requires us to do the very thing that our defense mechanism is trying to stop us from doing.
Yep.
And so also it's telling your psyche, right? Like,
Yep.
hey, wait a minute. So you got to think about that too. When it comes to when it comes to those defense mechanisms.
Yeah. And I think too, family and to us, because we're talking ourselves too, we grow together through this, right?
Oh yeah.
So I
For
think
sure.
too, like if your defense is self-reliance, growth might require asking for help.
It's me.
Okay. So if you're self-reliant, your growth, for you to grow beyond that, right, is to start asking for help. Will it be comfortable? No. Is it necessary? I do believe so.
Yeah.
If your defense mechanism is emotional walls, right, then maybe your growth opportunity will require you to be more vulnerable, right? It will require more vulnerability, right? So maybe that's your growth mechanism if you got an emotional wall, right? If your defense mechanism is control, right? Growth might require you to trust. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's what a mind is trust. I don't trust easily. I don't. But I think that if your defense mechanism is, is control, then maybe you need to learn how to trust somebody. That even though you can do it now, some of us can do things great. Some of us can do it. If I do it myself, I know it's right. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Let's just be real. But sometimes it's good to pass that on and trust somebody else to do it.
Yeah, and that's uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's going to say something that's uncomfortable, especially as you say, like with projects or whatever it may be. Like,
Yeah.
it might be your baby or whatever your vision was, right? Now you having to entrust somebody with that. That can really be uncomfortable. Because our defenses are similar, right? Like, and they're similar and they're familiar. Like, we familiarize ourselves with them. Even when they're still hurting us, right? Because that's the very thing again that was protecting us,
Right.
which is now maybe limiting us and putting us in harm's way.
Yeah.
And so with that, because it is hurting us, why is letting go so hard?
Oh,
Like, I want y'all
goodness.
opinion on this too because I have some ideas, but I want to know too, and y'all help me because we're
Yes,
going
I'm
through what
sure.
we're going through together. Why is letting go so hard?
Oh,
What you think?
was that song? The little boys to me and sing it's so hard to say goodbye to
To
yesterday because you're familiar with yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what tomorrow holds, but you're familiar with yesterday. You can recall it.
That's true.
But again, I think that letting go becomes hard because if I could think of one reason, right, I would say letting go is so difficult because these defenses genuinely help us, right?
Yeah.
So these defense mechanisms that we have developed has helped us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one reason why it's hard to let go because it's like, why am I going to let go of something that has helped me all this time? You're telling me in order for me to grow, I need to do X, Y, Z, but I'm fine. I'm good, right? Because it's been helping me all this time. I'm not going to change anything.
Right, because we're not talking about something that was useless. Like you said, we're talking about something that once served a very important purpose and role.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, I couldn't get with that.
And I think, too, like, sometimes it's even saved, right, us from emotional abuse, an emotional connection, right? Depending on
Mm-hmm.
where we are in life, it is sometimes our defense mechanism has saved our emotions, right?
Yeah.
I'm not about to tell him or her how I really feel because they may hurt me. Or,
Right.
so here comes that wall up, right? I don't want you to come on my wall. I don't want you to come over my wall or through that wall because emotionally I'm not sound to
Mm-hmm.
deal with this. So I
Yeah.
think that is a part of it
And
too.
right there is where I would say I think that's where we need compassion. Like
Yeah.
compassion got to show.
Yeah.
For both parties, so for whatever it is, like especially for yourself,
Yeah.
but then also for the others who may be affected by your defense mechanism. Like compassion is what's needed in that
Yeah.
time,
I
right?
love that. That's good.
And not shame.
Right.
Like, oh, you mean to
Right.
tell me you like this? Because
Right.
don't need all that. Like, I'm going through enough already. Like,
Yeah.
just show me compassion and love.
I love
Like,
that.
not shame.
I love that. I love that. Even, taking it to another level, when I think about it spiritually, God tells us we have to have compassion, right? We're supposed to have
Mhm.
compassion. And so that's the one thing we got to do and not shame people because
Yeah.
sometimes we do that. And I don't want to say we do it intentionally. I think we're trying to help sometimes, but we got to think about what we're about to say. How is this person feeling? Like Brittany said, there's a story behind everything. And so I learned that from her with a situation. She said, Mama, there has to be a story. And so I'm like, yeah. So now I look at it like that. What's their story behind how they got like this, how they developed this, things like that. So I think too, like because the goal isn't to judge ourselves for developing these defense mechanisms, right? We gotta make sure we don't judge ourselves and be hard on ourselves from it because a lot of times, again, something has happened in our lives. If we're gonna be honest, right? Something has happened in our lives to make us build these defense mechanisms up. So, I think the goal would be for us to recognize when they've completed their assignment. And when I say they, I'm talking about your defense mechanisms. When have they completed their assignment? And once they have, nicely package it up and stick it in that suitcase we talked about in the very, very, very beginning. Because it's time to move on to something else and put that in one pack of luggage and pick up another pack of luggage and move on.
Because basically the defense has done its job.
Yep.
Right? Now it's time to move for something new.
Yep.
And embracing the newness, it can be scary, but
Yeah.
it also can be rewarding at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I guess what you was about to say something?
No.
Oh. So I guess just for questions, right, to kind of reflect on it would be I guess like what behaviors am I carrying that once protected me? And for those from last week, I did not forget about y'all. We have had a hectic week and some stuff that was unforeseen and that was, a sad part. But I am gonna hit y'all up to see that y'all do the last because this is part 2. So I'm asking these questions. I'm gonna come around to see that y'all do from last week. But really, I do want to see like what behavior am I carrying that once protected me, and then also like what is the behavior protecting me from, right? And I know it kind of sounds familiar. I mean, the same, but it's not. So again, what behavior am I carrying that once protected me? And then what is this behavior protecting me from, right? And then is that threat still present today? Because again, as we mentioned, sometimes for our safety guards, we're using something that we no longer need because we're no longer in danger. So if you can think about like whatever it is this threat still present today? Right. And then I think the final one would be, and I'm gonna have to type this in. What might become possible if I loosen my grip on this defense? Right? Like just think about that.
What positive things could come out of it, right? If you lose, I like that. I like that a lot. And I think, maybe it's deeper relationships, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's more freedom when you get to just giving you some things to think about as you think about the question. Maybe it's more peace. Because I'm going to tell you, my peace, I will dismiss you. I don't care who you are. No one is bothering my peace. If you bother my peace, I'm telling you now, I'm going to dismiss you or I'm going to remove myself from the situation because peace, if you don't have peace, there's no way you got sovereignty in your life. You got to have some peace. And maybe it's more, authenticity, right?
Yeah,
Because we want to
authenticity is
be
definitely the one.
authentic at all times. So I think, being more authentic with ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe it's finally feeling safe enough to be fully yourself. Like, give yourself permission to be you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think about things, some things in life that has happened to us in our past, it is not easy. It is not easy. And some of us have carried that and carried that and carried that and built defense mechanisms to get us through this thing called life. But I just encourage you, as you're thinking about the questions Brittany is typing in, um, I want you to just think about that a little bit more, right? How do I make sure that the very thing that I built to protect me is not now, gonna harm me?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, some things we build up is to get us through life. But now when we look back at it, it happened when we were 16. It happened when we were 17, it happened when we was 9. Yes, those things hurt. Yes, those things changed and altered our lives in some situations. But I want you to think about that. Is it time to let that go so you can be yourself? So you can fully be yourself. So as you're answering those questions, just a couple things I wanted to throw out there to make you, just think about that. Um, because I do know I had some, and I'm telling you, you wasn't getting close to me. Um, but I had learned to assume positive intent with people, and
Mm-hmm.
that has helped me out tremendously with my trust issue. Because when I can think I can trust you, and then I hear you running your mouth about something, then I know I can't tell you stuff. Um, but I'm learning to assume positive intent. I'm watching Brittany type this stuff and trying to look at the right
Sorry, I
right
can't
computer
remember. See if it's
thing.
in order. I don't know. I'm
But
trying to go back over
but
stuff.
yeah. So that one was for me when we was talking about this and just conversing
Mm-hmm.
and reflecting back for me. Um, that's one that I'm still having to let go. Like when I feel like I'm looking at people like I don't trust none of you. Say I don't trust you no further than I can see you, no further than I can throw you is what some people would say. But I'm learning to not walk into situations automatically already guarded and feeling like I can't trust nobody. So I'm learning to
Mm-hmm.
assume positive intent, and that has truly helped me in my area of that defense mechanism that I built up for trying to protect my trust with
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah. And I think too, just before we close, we're gonna get to the question. I think
So,
Auntie had one, but just to leave you just with a thought or a little nugget, as I like to say, like not every coping strategy is meant to stay with us forever. And the reason is that it's because I always like to use this that we're always evolving, we're always becoming because it's true. So we're always evolving, always becoming. There's going to be new tests, new trials, new situations in life that's going to happen. And the same thing that we
mm-hmm.
once dealt with and use those coping strategies for that, it cannot be the same thing from when we're growing because then you're on a different level. You're going through something totally different. So you can't use that same defense mechanism or that same coping strategy for what you once used before in the past. You have to now develop something else. So just know that it doesn't stay with us forever, right? And then eventually, it's kind of designed for survival, right? Some were designed for survival, but survival isn't the same thing as living, right? Like also, I don't want to just survive.
Mm-hmm.
I want to live, right? You
Right.
know how like people like, I don't want to be paycheck to paycheck, right? I want to be able to live life and have a little bit of savings to have fun and stuff. That's kind of what it is, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, survival is good, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to just survive. Like I want
Yeah.
to live. It's not the same as living. And if
Yeah.
somebody say it is, then we can have our own little session and discussion with that. They can come on the panel because that would be a good topic to talk about. Because surviving and living is two different things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely agree with you, and I think too, you can honor the role of a defense mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
and the part that it played in your life. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that because, like I said, it has helped me get to a place where I am today because I had a lot of defense mechanisms, for many reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but they can help you, appreciate how it helped you. So we're not telling you to disregard them. We're telling you we're trying to grow and we don't want you sabotaging your growth. and your ability to move to the next level or to get
Right.
rid of those things that are holding you back. We're telling you that those defense mechanisms that you developed had its time and place.
Yeah.
But as we're growing and getting better, we got to let it go. Like Brittany said, it's time to pick up a new tool because now you've tightened up the nut on that. And so that tool that you used to do that is not going to fit now because that one was for that little one. But now that we moved on to bigger and greater things, it's going to require a bigger set of tools to tighten that up.
That was good because if you keep using that same tool to tighten it up, you're gonna end up stripping it. Is that what y'all call it?
Yep.
I'm not a tooper, but I didn't learn that. I get my daddy and call him for that. Shout out to my dad. Thanks, Daddy. But yeah, you keep on using that same tool, you're gonna end up stripping it. So I just thought about that.
Yep.
And then it's no good because then you can't get it out. It's stuck. So then you might have to just go and buy a whole new whatever it may be. So when you said that, I just thought about that. And still, you also recognizing, right, that you outgrown it, and that's a good thing. Like growth is inevitable. It's always you're always growing, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing in life. Even like with the weather, the flowers, they're different seasons. Sometimes some things may die, right, or you think they did, but they end up growing right back up, right? They're still rooted. So some things you've outgrown, and that's okay. And growth doesn't mean rejecting your past, right? It doesn't mean that you just isolated, like, oh, I don't know who that is, and then condemn somebody else that just went through the same thing that you went through. That's where that compassion come in and not being shameful, right? So growth doesn't mean you reject your past, right? It just means you're allowing yourself to evolve beyond it, right? Like, I've used that past. I had my past. Now that I done seen this, I use that past. Now I'm here growing for the future, right? Or the present to the future. It just means that I've evolved beyond it. So I think that's also something just to think about. And that's all I have to say because it is 7:50, so we can look at the questions because we always
we're trying to do better with our timing and respecting everybody's time. Wendy said I was in a place in life where I didn't reach out for help if I needed it. I tried to handle it on my own and lean on God.
Yeah, I wanna get on that one. And again, not saying that it's just something that I'm gonna share with me. When it comes to that, and that I can't wait. I'm gonna keep saying it until it happens. What's it in June or July? I mean July.
Yeah.
It's when between the altar and the couch because sometimes it is we end up finding. I know we end up finding ourselves not asking for help and open up our mouth because we're like she said, we're asking for help from God. Like we're gonna lean on God. God is my strength. I can do all things in Christ Jesus who strengthens us. We can, right? But sometimes he also gives us wisdom. And let me know if I'm talking wrong or if y'all disagree. But he also gives us wisdom, right? And he tells us, right, just open your mouth and ask, right? Ask him, right? Sometimes it's people that he would use that's sitting right there waiting to be a blessing. But you're saying like, okay, I'm just going to wait on God. And God's like, I sent your help right there. Why you ignore them? Why didn't you open up your mouth and say something? They just literally, they just sitting right there. That was the blessing right there. And sometimes I think, that's too that we can kind of get stuck on. It's like I'm just gonna lean on God, and God like you leaning on me. I done stretched out my arm and gave you some more resources that you can lean to and get the help from. So I was one of those that was like that, especially in growing up in traditional and religious stuff. It's like just pray about lean on God. What you like I said, you absolutely do because some stuff you have to go. Sometimes can't nobody help but Him. But some things He'll send right your way, and you be like, dang. I just would have opened up my mouth, I missed my opportunity, right? Or if someone was like, that application that you wanted to fill out and someone else get it, it's like, girl, you could have gotten that job if you would have just, right? And then you missed that opportunity, right? It's like, why didn't you just ask me? I worked at this place, right? I could have got you on at this one, but you didn't ask, right? I may have a resource and know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, right? You never know, but you got to open up and ask for the help for whatever it may be. So that's just an encouragement when I seen that one.
Yeah, that's good too, and I'm glad you overcome some of that because that's key. So I know you'll get more into that as we go because I could say a whole lot, but I'm not. She says I can get along with just about anybody, but I don't let anybody in my circle. I think that's good. That's good. That's good.
That's
true. And as you grow and you change your circle, because sometimes we got to change our circle too, because some people we let in our circle. Sometimes we got to make sure that I'm still growing, right? With that. So not to you, Wendy, but I just made me think about that.
That goes from the thing that's talking about that we still haven't had that. Yeah, I be sometimes I'll be writing down, but I be too shy to talk about. But it was the I think this one we end up when we had went to Bible study that time. It was the chain effect versus the change effect.
Oh
So
yeah.
sometimes the links in the chain, you know how the chain is together, but sometimes you may have a little opening there, and you might need a whole new chain link or something that falls off. So that makes me think about the circle. So maybe we can do that one time.
And
Yeah.
then someone said, asked the question, how can you tell when they're finished their assignment? So when the defense mechanisms have finished their assignment, how can you tell that? And so I'll give a stab at it, and I'll say, for me, I'll use mine. The way I knew my defense mechanism had ended their assignment is when I seen that me trying to make everybody happy was doing more harm to them, not just me, to them, because I would sugarcoat stuff, right? And it wasn't helping them. They weren't growing, nothing was changing, but I was trying to make sure that I told them what they wanted to hear, right? Because I wanted to, one, make me happy and feel like, oh yeah, I did that. And then two, excuse me, make them feel like, yeah, that was good. That was great. But in fact, I should have been saying, hey sis, that wasn't cool. Like that really was not cool what you did. And so for me, I would say when I knew it was time that they had finished their assignment was when I did not see the results I was getting back when I was maybe 25, 30. I didn't see that I was getting that result in my 40s. I seen that it was hurting. It was, at the time, I thought it was helping the person, but it wasn't. So for me, I feel like when you would know that your assignment is done is when I have no, when it has served its course, right? It's kind of like when you buy that treadmill, right? And you may have bought it for to lose 50 pounds, right? And you get on that thing every day, ride. But that belt, it took you maybe 5 years to get it going. Well, the belt becomes worn out, right? And you still want to get on that treadmill. It's been some years, but you still want to get on that treadmill. But you realize it's not moving as fast as it was. It's going slower.
Like
it's going real slow. Well, it's time to change that belt because that belt has now served its time and its purpose. It's time to get a new one. So I would say it is personal. It's not something you can paint with a wide brush, but you should start to see, I don't need that no more. Like, I don't feel that way toward that person anymore. I'm able to speak and I truly have forgiven them and we've moved on. And I feel like that's a personal one that you have to measure your where you were and where you're trying to go.
Where you were, where you are, and where you're trying to go.
Right, where you were, where you are. I like that, Mr. R. Where you were, where you are, and where you're trying to go. I truly think that is personal, but I would share that with you, and I use that analogy to bring it out a little bit more. But you should recognize when you've used something to the fullest of the capacity it's going to give you time to change up.
And let me see, because I want to make sure I can finish their assignment. Okay. Also, because we like using analogies. Sometimes you finish your assignment. Could we go back to, is it protection or limitation, right? And I guess I would use the analogy. You feel pressure sometimes. I feel like when you're stuck in a place for too long, you feel pressure. You feel like a heaviness on you. Something is like I'm just stuck. Like it's time for me to go on. And I guess my analogy would be like using the seasons, like I said before. Like, say we got a raincoat, and you wearing that raincoat, right? And the raincoat, and just stay with me the analogy because we know rain ain't really too much danger, right? But just say it's raining, right? And the raincoat is protecting you from the danger, right? It's sheltering you from the rain, right? The rain will be the danger, and it's sheltering you from the rain. But when it comes to summer, right, you can't keep that same raincoat throughout the whole season, especially when summer comes, because what is it really protecting you from? Instead of it protecting you from the danger, which was the rain, now this raincoat is starting to be heavy on you, right? Like it's starting to be a burden where like, oh my gosh, like I just need to get out. I'm stuck. I need to get out. I can't breathe. I'm hot, right? I'm bothered. So I think that's just for an analogy. That's when like your assignment is finished. Like if you end up growing and you can't use the same thing that you once could use before, and it's time to kind of elevate it and use a different equipment, or instead of a raincoat, you can use an umbrella, right? It's kind of still in the same family, but you can use umbrellas to protect you from the sun. I think that's when your assignment is finished. And sometimes assignments, it can be the same, but it can be with different people, which is why I use the raincoat and then the umbrella. You have to use a different strategy. Like we said, you can't use the same one. And so I think sometimes, to me, and for me personally, if that makes sense, that's when you can kind of tell when your assignment is finished. It's when you exhausted all of your resources, right, that you could possibly think of and using, and now it's like, okay, now what else do I need to do? It's like a fulfillment that needs to be fulfilled again, right? So that's just me, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, and I think that's how we can get stuck, right? And that's how we can tie it back to last week. We can self-sabotage ourselves, right, from growth, is because we begin to let the psyche, our mind part, right, tell us what we can't let go. How did it help you? Stay right there. Keep that. No, you're not wrong for feeling like that. You're right in feeling like that. When in fact, you may have been right back 10 years ago, but we 10 years forward. We got to use something different. Most things have a life expectancy of 3 to 5 years when it comes to us using something and it being top tier, right? Jeans start to wear out, shirts start to wear out, a new fashion comes in after about 5 years, 3 years, say you want to change up. So I look at that. Away. Yeah, I look at that with life. And so I think I got all the questions. So I think that that is one thing we have to look at when we're talking about when we know the assignment is over, right? And it's time to graduate to the next class. It's kind of like school, and I'll say this and we're going because it's 8 o'clock. Well, unless Brittany got something to say. But I'll say it's just like school. When you graduate from, when you go from kindergarten, now you're in the 5th grade. Now you in the 5th grade, they give you a little graduation ceremony. It's to let you know that it's time to go to a whole new level, right? New things. It's the same thing in life. You can't carry the same suitcase with the same baggage and the same luggage and expect to get on or expect things to be lighter. Because if you keeping all the luggage from the past, trust me, there's some more waiting on you in the future. So the luggage gets heavy and you never empty it out. And that also can be some of our defense mechanisms. We're going to develop them as we go, y'all. I'm telling you that now in life. But you got to let some of the old ones go. So that's what I have to say tonight about it in part 2. But again, I encourage you, if you did not get a chance to be with us last week, you really need to go watch the sabotaging because it'll help you understand where we are with part 2, right? But I want you to just take and make sure that you are applying the things that we're saying. If you don't, it's fine. We're not going to be mad, but I'm telling you what we're telling you. We've talked about it. We feel it. And I know it's helping me in talking with you. It's helping me. So
and we're trying to apply it to ourselves.
Yeah, it's helping me.
Still.
It's helping me. Even your questions and stuff that make me dig a little deeper and think about things a little deeper. It's helping me. And I'm hoping that you all are getting something out of these broadcasts because honestly, that's what we're in it for. Is to make sure we're growing. As Brittany said better than me.
We're just growing through what we're going through together.
Every time I get on. Oh, well, we promise you, we are with us as well. So join the family. But what he has for you is for you. And when God has a message for you, whoever that is, I don't have to call your name, but who you just told us that it feel like every time they get on, we're talking about them. But I tell you this, I'm talking about me every time I get on. And I'm hoping that you guys talking to them every time they get on, because here's the thing. This is what it's about. If we reach one, we've done our job, right? But in reaching you, I'm reaching me. She's reaching her. It's just like a preacher. If he's preaching, she's preaching. They should be getting something out their own message, okay? Because we all are going through some things. So,
it's a domino effect.
Yeah, it is definitely a domino effect. So thank you who shared that. I decided I was going to stop calling names because I think people get a little shy with that. So I just started saying my sister, my brother, And if I don't know who it is, don't matter because we all human. But I love you very much, and I hope everybody has a most amazing rest of your night.
Yes.
Think about the things we talked about. Take those questions that Brittany has put in the different platforms for you to think about, and really think about that. Get a long time and think about that, because it's time to let some of the self mechanisms we develop go.
Yes. And I'm gonna have something for y'all, even if I have to ship it. But hopefully, y'all. I think I know most of y'all. If I have to ship it, I can. But I'm gonna have something soon for y'all, so that way you can have your own stuff instead of keep saying write it down. Or
Yeah.
think and have your own little thing. So
Awesome.
merch is it's coming.
Awesome.
So just be on the lookout for that. For the ones that comes faithfully, that be attending engaging, I'll be sending y'all out one so y'all can write y'all stuff out. Yeah.
All right. But with that being said, y'all, from me, Evangelist Brenda, and Brittany, we just want to tell you, please take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And until we come back again, y'all, please have an awesome night. And don't let nobody steal your peace. And remember the power that you have in your tongue. It makes a difference in life. Take care. We love you.
Love y'all.